This conference will now be recorded.
Well, in the last class, we discussed about filter transformation, router transformation, and then normalizer transformation, right? So filter transformation is for to write a single condition, which is used to filter the source data. We cannot write multiple conditions in filter transformation. So if you want to write multiple conditions, then we have to create multiple filter transformations. So to overcome that, we have router transformation. Router transformation where we can write the multiple conditions, and also if any of the condition doesn't satisfy, means like whatever the conditions we have written inside the router transformation, if none of the conditions are going to satisfy, then it will also send that data to the default group. From default group, if you have connected to the log table, then it will load the data into the log table. Okay, it is not mandatory that we should have to use log table here inside the router transformation. So we have used the log table, right? So from default group we have connected. So this is not mandatory. Okay, so even though if you don't connect from default group to the log, it will work fine without any error. Okay, so for the records, whichever the condition doesn't satisfy, if you don't connect it from default group to the target, it will leave the records as it is. It will not do anything for that record. Okay, so if you want to track, then only we have to connect. We have to connect the default group to the log. Okay, like that. Next. So after this, we also discussed about normalizer transformation. Normalizer is for to transpose the columns data into rows. Okay, that is the use of normalizer. And then next today we will start with sequence generator transformation. Okay, sequence generator. In the name itself we have a meaning called sequence generator, right? So sequence generator means generating the sequence numbers. What is meant by sequence numbers? Sequence numbers means 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, right? These are the sequence numbers. Okay. Here if you see in a source table we have three columns: employee number, employee name, salary. Whereas in target table we have total four columns. Okay, so EAD column also we have here in the target table. Employee number, employee name, salary, for these three columns data will get from the source. So same employee number we have to load, same employee name, same salary. How about EAD column? Are we getting any data from the source? Do we have any value for EAD column in the source table? No. But here, while loading the data or while loading the rows from source to target table, for the first row we have to generate one, second row we have to generate two, third row three, fourth row four, fifth row five, like that, one after the other, the serial number or sequence numbers we have to generate in this column. Okay, so if the serial numbers are not coming from the source, then in the target table we have a column to generate the sequence values of serial numbers. In that scenario, in our mapping we have to create a sequence generator transformation. Okay, so from sequence generator transformation, if you connect to the EAD column, then the sequence generator transformation will generate the sequence number for the first record one, second record two, third record three, fourth record four. Like that, the sequence generator will generate the sequence values. Okay, so we'll see practical. So first, the source table should be like this: emp underscore seq underscore s1. So seq means sequence. So for sequence generator, we have created the table. You can give the table name like this and then execute. Here I have inserted few rows like this. Okay, so created the source table and inserted few rows like this in the source table. Okay, and then target table t1, right? So here we have only three columns in the source, whereas in target table, if you see, you have to include one more new column, which is EAD before employee number. While creating the target table, you have to give EAD column also. So for this, inside the EAD column we will have the numbers. That is the reason You have to give the data type also as a number. Okay, so like that you can create a target table. So once the source and target tables are ready, now we know the requirement, right? So only this column, EAD column, we have to get the serial numbers. Like first record, one, second record, two, third record, three, fourth record, four, like that. We should have to get the serial numbers. Okay, so now once the source and target tables are ready, next we have to clear and we have to follow the same 6 steps. First we have to import the source definition. So see, this owner name do not change. So it will be automatically auto-populated. So it will be in capital letters. Okay. So if it is in small letter, then it will not be able to connect. You will not get the schema. Always here the owner name should be in capital. Username, password, fine, but owner name always should be in capital. Connect. So this is our source. Imported the source definition. Then we have to import the target definition. You have to click on this button, target designer button. Clear all. So click on target designer. Go to the menu targets, import from database. Enter the target table name. Connect. Click on OK. Imported the target definition. Then go to the mapping designer. Mappings create. M underscore emp underscore seq s1 t1 load. Okay, so like that we can give the mapping name and then source definition emp seq s1 drag and drop and then target definition emp seq t1 till here you know, right? The same creating the source target table, importing the source definition, importing target definition. Okay, so after that, okay, so these three columns directly we can connect. Select the source qualifier, all the ports here, drag and drop on employee number, not on EID. You have to drop on employee number so that same data will be loaded in these three columns. But for EID, we have to populate the sequence values. So for that, we know to get the sequence values, we have a sequence generator transform. So to create a sequence generator transformation, go to the menu transformation, create. From this list, we have to select the sequence generator. Here you go. We have the sequence generator transformation. The name is SEQ. Create. Done. Okay, so like that we have to place the cursor, place the sequence generator transformation before target definition, and by default we have got next val and current val, curval. Curval means current value, and next val means next value. So like that, by default we will get these two ports inside the sequence generator. We no need to add any ports inside the sequence generator to get sequence values in this EID column. Always we have to select the next val and we have to connect it to the EID. Current val you just leave it. We are not going to use it. Only always you have to connect the next val to EID column to get the sequence values. Okay, fine. We have connected. Like how we want to get the sequence values, like do we want like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 like that, or sometimes we also have to get the sequence numbers like first record 100, second record 200, third record 300, like that, start from 100 increment by 100, or how we want like 1,000 2,000 3,000 4,000, right? So we should have to decide how we want to get the sequence numbers. So in our scenario here we need sequence numbers like starts from 1 increment by 1, right? So here increment by 1 for each and every value. 1 2 3 4 5 6 means it is starting from 1 and it is doing increment by 1, right? So these things we have to set inside the sequence generator transformation. So right click, edit, open the sequence generator, go to the properties tab. You can see by default the start value it is 0, right? Since the start value is 0, it will start the numbers from 0. But do we want sequence values from 0? No, we want to start the value from 1. For the first record it should have to give 1, it should have to start the value from 1. So then we have to change this from 0 to 1 so that it will start the numbers from 1. Okay, and then by default increment by we have here 1. So start value 1 and increment by 1 means it will generate the numbers like 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, and so here we have some end value. So there is some big end value, we just leave that as it is, we will not touch anything. So only we have to change the start value from 0 to 1. So we will discuss later other fields. Click on apply, okay, that's it. See, so with this we have done with the mapping. So we have set the start value 1 and increment by 1. So as soon as we started execution of this mapping, reader from the source it will read the first record and it will send it to the target parallelly sequence generator transformation. For the first record, next value we will get 1. That one it will send to the EAD. So once the first record loaded, next second record reader will read from the source and it will give it to the target parallelly sequence generator transformation. For the second record it will generate 2. How it will generate 2 means here inside the sequence generator transformation we will have the equation like this. We no need to write, okay, next value equal to current value plus 1, current value equal to next value, like that we will have the equation inside the sequence generator transformation. We cannot see this one, it is inbuilt. Okay, automatically it will do the calculation like this. And always for the first time the current value will be 0 by default. For the first time inbuilt the current value will be 0. Okay, inbuilt current value will be 0, right? So now as soon as we started execution, since the start value 1 and increment by 1, first 10A 100 it will send to the target parallelly sequence generator, next value equal to current value plus 1. What is the current value for the first time? 0. 0 plus 1, plus 1 means increment by 1 we have said, that's the reason here it will do the plus 1. If you have set increment by 100, then it will do next value equal to current value plus 100. If you have set uh, increment by 1000, then in the equation automatically it will change next value equal to current value plus 1000. But now here we have to do increment by 1. So plus, since we have set 1 here, so it will do plus 1. For the first time current value will be 0, 0 plus 1 1. So next value we have got 1, right? So it will pass the next value here to the EAD for the first record. Next it will come to the current value. Current value is equal to now the next value, whatever the value we have got here, next value 1, that it will pass to this current value, right? So after loading the first record into the target table, current value will be 1. First record loaded. Now second record, reader will read the second record 20B200, that it will send to the target. Parallelly sequence generator will start generating the sequence number. So now for the second record, next value equal to current value plus 1. Okay, so what is the current value of the last processed record? Okay, 1 plus 1, 1 plus 1 2. For the second record, next value we will get 2, that 2 it will pass here to the target. So it will also update the current value to 2. After loading the second record into the target table, current value will be updated to 2. The next third record, while processing the third record, next value equal to current value plus 1. Current value now it is 2. So you can see after processing the second record, current value will be 2. The 2 plus 1, 2 plus 1 3. For the third record it will generate 3 and also it will send the sequence number as 3. In the same way for the fourth record, next value equal to current value plus 1. So current value will be last processed record current value 3 plus 1 4. So for the fourth record, next value will be 4, and that 4 it will send to the target. After sending the next value, it will update the current value with the next value, now 4. After loading the fourth record into the target, current value will be 4, right? So now we'll execute and see whether we have got the same sequence values or not. We have done with the mapping. Now we'll create a session task, workflow, and then execute. Tasks, create, s underscore, mapping name we have to give here. We'll copy the mapping name from here. Create. So now the mapping is SCQ mapping. So this is the mapping done. And then workflow designer, workflows, create, and then paste the mapping name, sessions, SCQ S1 T1 load. So we have to drag and drop like this. Task, link a task, save. So with this, we have done with the mapping, session, workflow, everything. Now it is ready to execute. As soon as we start execute, the sequence generator transformation for the first record 1, second record 2, third record 3, fourth record 4, like that it will generate sequence values. It is executing. You can see it got succeeded, right? So since it got succeeded, we can go and see here the data in the target table. So you can see here these three values we have got from the source. How about this EAD column? So in the EAD column, we have got 1, 2, 3, 4. Who has generated this 1, 2, 3, 4? Sequence generator transformation, right? So like that. So if you want to get the sequence values, then you have to use sequence generator transformation. Fine. So we have executed successfully, right? We have executed successfully. Okay. Now, suppose let's say the same mapping, same session, same workflow. Can I execute second time? Same mapping, same session, same workflow. Can I execute second time? What will happen if I execute second time? Any guess? Have you executed your mappings second time?
Yes, sir. I'm executed.
So what will happen if the mapping is executed second time? Is it going to fail the
So,
execution or is it going to
uh,
fail the execution?
it will succeed, but two times we uh, in two times will execute, sir.
Okay,
Two times will in output two times will come, sir.
yeah. Okay, so if we execute second time, what will happen means, so we will get the data 2 times in the target, right? So first time, if there are, suppose let's say we have the table like this. So EMP underscore yes, employee number, employee name, salary, 1A 100, 2B 200. Okay, so here we have let's say 10, 20, and then we have 30 C 300. Okay, so 40 D 400. So like that we have a source table, and I have created a mapping to load these 4 records from source to target, right? Okay, so what will happen here? First time if we execute, we know first time it will extract all the 4 records and it will insert all the 4 records into the target table. Done. Second time, same mapping, same session, same workflow. If we execute, what will happen means, so again it will extract all the records from the source one by one it will be inserted into the target table. The same copy of the records will be inserted inside the target table. After second time successful of the execution, you will get total 8 records. Now third time, same mapping, same session, same workflow. If you execute third time, what will happen? Again, it will extract all the 4 records. Again, the 4 records will be inserted like this in your target table. This is what happens. Every time when we execute, every time it will extract the data from the source, transform, and it will load into the target table. Right? This is what happens if you execute the same mapping again and again multiple times. Okay, fine. Now here, so we are using the sequence generator transformation to get the sequence values. So for that, here we have a EID column in our target table. Okay. So in this EID column, for the first time, we have got the sequence values 1, 2, 3, 4, like that it has generated. Okay. Now if I execute second time, we know again it will extract all the records from the source and it will insert all the records into the target table like this. Whereas if I execute the sequence generator mapping second time, so what will happen here? So what sequence number we will get here? Will it start from 1 or it will start from 5? So which number we will get here? Any guess?
5.
Five.
Five number.
Why 5? Why not 1? What is the reason why we will get 5 here?
By 1.
The next value should be plus with the current value.
Exactly, right? That's the answer. So why we will get 5 means next value is equal to current value plus 1. So current value of the last processed record would be 4. 4 plus 1, 5. That is the reason here. You can see the last processed record, even though after loading all the 4 records into the target table, the current value it will save this sequence generator transformation. It will save the current value of the last record. When we execute next time for the next record, so next value is equal to current value plus 1. Current value always it will take from the last processed record current value plus it will do 1. So last processed record is 4, 4 plus 1, 5. That is the reason when we execute second time, we will get the number from 567. The same copy of the record will be inserted again into the target. For these records, we will get the numbers like 567. Again, third time if you execute, it will start from 9, 9, 10, 11, 12, like that we will get. Okay, now let me execute and show you the same. Second time I'm running the same workflow. So second time, again, it will extract all the 4 records. All the 4 records, it will be loaded into the target. The 4 records extracted and 4 records inserted. Now here in the target table, we will get numbers like we have to see EID column. So see here, first 4 records, the same 4 records again inserted into the target table. For these records, we have got the numbers like 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, next up. The third time if I execute, again it will extract 4 records. Start workflow, same workflow, we can execute a number of times. So again it will extract the same records from the source. Again it will insert all the 4 records, but the sequence number will not change. We will get the proper sequence values here. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this is how we are expecting the same thing. We want to have the numbers like this in an order, serial numbers to be there. It doesn't matter whether these rows are same or okay, but in this column we want to have the serial numbers or sequence numbers like that. So if you want to get the numbers like the serial numbers, even though the data is not coming from the source for this column, in the mapping we can use the sequence generator transformation. So by using the sequence generator transformation, we can generate the numbers like this. Okay, this is also one of the important transformations. In real time, many of our scenarios, we will have the requirement to get the sequence numbers like this. Okay, so we will have the primary key column. In the last class, we discussed about the primary key column. What is meant by primary key column? So if there is a primary key column, that column should have the distinct values or unique values, and it should not have the duplicate values, and it should not have the null values, right? Now here, do we have the duplicate values in this column? No. Do we have the null values? No, right? We have the distinct values here. So such type of requirement, whenever we have in real time, then we can create a sequence generator transformation and we can set the start value 1 and increment by 1, so that we will get the sequence values like this. Again, in our future class, many of our scenarios, we will use the sequence generator transformation. Okay, so we'll use the sequence generator transformation. Fine. So what you can do, for the first time, you execute and see whether you have got the sequence numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the second time, the same mapping, execute the same workflow and see EAD or serial number. Okay. So for the sequence values, whether you have got the proper sequence values or not, that you have to observe. The way how we have executed multiple times, same way, the same mapping, same session, same workflow, you execute multiple times and see whether you have got the proper sequence values or not, or are you getting the duplicate values, that you have to observe. So we should not have the duplicate values in this column. We should have the unique values or distinct values should be there in this column. Got it? Okay, next we'll move on to the next scenario. Next, second example in sequence generator. Generate cyclic numbers in target. Okay, so only till here this scenario we will use in real time, but here from second scenario onwards we will not use in real time, but in interview they may ask. Okay, that is the reason we have to know about the other properties of this sequence generator transformation. Okay. Okay, so cyclic numbers, what is meant by cyclic number? So if you see here, you will understand what is cyclic numbers. It is starting from 1, increment by 1, and the ending at 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, like that. These are called cyclic numbers. Okay, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It should have to start from 1. After reaching some end value, again it should have to start from 1, right? So such type of numbers we called it as cyclic numbers. Okay, so what is meant by cyclic number? Cyclic number means it should have to start from 1 and end at some number. Again it should have to start from 1, right? So you have to create a source table like this, emp sdq s2, with these 3 columns, and insert some 7-8 rows like this in your source table. Target table create like this, emp seq t2. Okay, and here cno means cyclic number, right? And here also the data type is a number, and the same employee number, employee name, salary, 4 columns. So here do not insert any values in the target table. While loading the data from source to target, for the first record 1, second record 2, third record 3. Again, fourth record it should have to give 1, fifth record 2, sixth record 3, seventh record 1, eighth record 2. Okay, it should have to stop here. So for these 8 records, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, it should have to generate like this cyclic number. Okay, so first time executed successfully. Now second time, the same mapping, the same session, same workflow. So if you execute second time, it should have to start from where? Which number it should have to start?
1.
No, wrong answer. So next time if you execute, since it has reached, what is the last record, last sequence number it has generated?
2.
What is the number? Last generated 2, right? For the next record, next value equal to current value plus 1. What is the current value? Current value 2, 2 plus 1, 3. So that is the reason for the next record, we'll get 3 here. Right, after reaching 3, so what it will do is, since we have here to generate the cycle number inside the sequence generator transformation. We will go here and then we'll go to the properties, start value 1, increment by 1, and the end value. So we have to change this end value to 3, right? So start value 1, increment by 1, and end value it should have to end at 3. Got it? And then do not touch the current value, so this will change automatically. We no need to worry about the current value. And then cycle, so there is a checkbox called cycle. We have to enable the cycle. So if you enable the cycle, after reaching the end value, it is going to reset the current value to 0. Now for first 3 records loaded, for these 3 records, start value 1, increment by 1, and then 3 it has generated 1 2 3. After reaching 3, since we have enabled the cycle option, it is going to reset the current value to 0. It will change the current value to 0. Okay, for the next record, next value equal to current value plus 1. Current value it has reset to 0. 0 plus 1, 1. That is the reason for the 4th record we will get 1. Understand? I repeat. First, since we have set the start value 1 and increment by 1, it will generate 1 2 3. End value we have set 3. That is the reason maximum it will generate only 3. After reaching 3, since we have enabled the cycle option here, okay, so since we have enabled the cycle option here, what it will do, it will reset the current value to 0. But if you don't enable the cycle checkbox, then what would be the current value after loading 3 records? What is the current value after loading 3 records?
It will generate 4 actually. Why? Because we need to add current to next value.
Yeah, so it will generate 4, but current value, I'm asking about current value. After loading 3 records, what would be the current value? 3, right? So after loading 3 records, the current value 3. So here I explained, right? Okay, so in the previous scenario we discussed, after loading 4 records, what is the current value here? We will get 4. Same way, after loading 3 records, what is the current value? 3. After loading 2 records, what is the current value? 2. After loading 1 record, what is the current value? 1. So here we discussed the same thing, right? So after for the 4th record, so current value 3 plus 1, it should have to generate 4. But since we have enabled the cycle option, this current value, it is going to change from 3 to 0. Because we have enabled the cycle option, it should have to do the cycle. That is the reason it is going to change automatically. It will do. We are not going to do anything. Automatically, it will update the 3 with 0. So that is the reason for the 4th record, current value it is going to update it to 0. 0 plus 1, 1 we will get for the 4th record when we enable the cycle option. So if you enable the cycle option, then it will start from 1 again. So that's the reason we will get 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 like that. Clear? This is homework. Okay, so I'm not going to show you this practically. You can create a source table, insert few records, create a target table with these columns, and do not insert any records in the target table. And inside the sequence generator, you have to set these 4 properties: start value 1, increment by 1, end value 3, and you have to enable the cycle checkbox. So if you set these properties, okay, and if you execute, you will get the sequence values like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 like that. Got it? Okay, that's all. Next, another scenario. So here the requirement is every run start the sequence value from 1, right? So every run it should have to start the sequence values from 1. Let me open this in a paint window. Every run it should have to start the sequence value from 1. What it means? Okay, so assume now for the first time we have 4 records here. For the first time, we have 4 records. For these 4 records, first time it will extract all the 4 records, all the 4 records loaded into the target table. Done. First time successfully executed. Second time, let's say before I execute, I have inserted one new record in the source table. Now total 5 records are there. So second time if I execute, we know it will extract these 5 records and it will insert all the 5 records, whatever the records are there. So it will extract all the 5 records and it will insert all these 5 records into the target table. Now tell me, second time if I execute, so for the first record, from which number we will get the sequence value here? Will it give 1 or 5?
1.
5.
What is the number we'll get here? 1 or
5.
5 here? So we'll
5.
get 5, not 1, right? Just now we discussed 3-4 times. Okay, so we'll not get 1 here, we will get 5 because as I told you earlier also here, next value equal to current value plus 1. So after loading 4 records, for the next record we will get 5 because, okay, so last processed record current value is 4 plus 1, 4 plus 1, we will get 5. That is the reason we will get 5. Okay, but I don't want 5 here. Okay, by default we will get 5, but second time when I run, second time again it should have to start from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for these 5 records it should have to generate the numbers from 5. Third time, let's say I have inserted 2 more new records, 60, some 600, 70, 700. So like that I have inserted 2 more new records. Now third time I'm going to execute. 2 times I have executed. Third time if I execute, we know again it will extract all these 7 records from the source. All the 7 records it is going to be inserted into the target table. Third time if I execute, so again it should have to start from 1. Every run, that's what I mentioned here. Every run start the sequence value from 1. First run it has started from 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Second run there are 5 records. For those 5 records it has generated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Third run there are 7 records. So third run it should have to generate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 like this. So for these 7 records, 7. So again, fourth time if there are 100 records in our source table, so again it should have to start from 1 and it should have to generate till 100. So fourth time also started from 1. So end value we are not sure, but start value every run. So every time, first time if we execute it should have to start from 1. Second time if I execute start from 1. Third time if we execute start from 1. Fourth time if we execute start from 1. But end value, whatever the number of records are there in the source table, for those records it should have to generate the numbers. Understand the requirement? Okay, by default, so what it will do after 4 it will generate 5 when we execute second time. That's what we discussed in the previous scenario. But now I don't want to start from 5, so every run it should have to start from 1. You got it? So first of all you have to understand the requirement, what we have to do, what we are expecting here. Okay, so we are expecting here every run it should have to start the sequence numbers from 1. Doesn't matter how many records are there in your source. So it should have to start from 1 and it should have to generate those many sequence numbers. Clear? Okay, so for what we have to do is, so we don't know the end value, right? If there are 1 million records, it should have to generate 1 to 1 million. Okay, in the next run, if there are 10 million records, again it should have to start from 1, it should have to generate 10 million numbers, sequence numbers. So since we are not sure the end value, for this scenario, what we have to do is, we have to set the start value 1, because every run it is starting from 1, and also increment by 1, it is there 1 plus 1, 2, 2 plus 1, 3, 3 plus 1, 4. So like that, it is doing the increment by 1. So we have to set the increment by 1 here. And then end value, what is the number we have to set here? So whatever the number it was there, so by default you just leave that number as it is. Okay, so whatever the number was there, So you just give some dummy number like this 9791 something like that you can press. So it will take some end value big number. Done. Next current value do not change, just leave it as it is. And cycle you should not enable. When do we have to enable the cycle? Cycle if you enable after reaching the end value only, it is going to reset the current value. Okay, so but we don't want to do the cycle here. Okay, we have a reset checkbox here. This we have to enable. Reset checkbox we have to enable. So if you enable the reset checkbox, at the end of every execution, it is going to reset the current value to 0. At the end of every execution, it is going to reset the current value to 0. So now I have enabled the reset checkbox, right? Okay, so first time what it will do, there are 4 records, all the 4 records it will insert from source to target table. After loading 4 records, actually the current value will be 4. But since it has reached the end of the execution, there are no records to process. First time there are 4 records, all the 4 records inserted. So after loading all the 4 records from source to target, so at the end it will display the succeeded message in workflow monitor, right? Before displaying the succeeded message, so it will change this current value from 4 to 0 because we have enabled the reset checkbox. So if you enable the reset checkbox, end of the execution, it will change the current value to 0. Automatically it will do that. Now since the current value is changed to 0, when we run second time for the first record, what number it will give here? We will get 1 or 5.
1.
So we'll get 1 because in the last run actually it was 4, but since we have enabled the reset checkbox, this 4, the current value, it has changed from 4 to 0. That is the reason next value equal to current value plus 1, 0 plus 1, 1 we will get for the second time first record. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever the number of records are there in our source, those many sequence numbers it will generate. So second time if there are 5 records in our source, after generating these 5 numbers and it has reached end of the execution, and it is going to reset the current value from 5 to 0. So since end of the execution it has reset the current value from 5 to 0, for the next record current value plus 1. Now we have 7 records, so it will start again from 1, it will generate the number still 7. Got it? Okay, after loading these 7 records, since it has reached end of the execution, it will change that current value from 7 to 0. That is the reason in the next run again it will start from 1. So every run it will start from 1 because every run end of the execution after loading all the data from source to target, the current value is going to change it to 0 because of reset checkbox is enabled. So when if you enable the cycle option, then when the current value is going to reset it to 0. So if you enable cycle option, when the current value is going to change it to 0. Any idea?
So whatever we mention the end value.
Exactly. Whatever the end value we have set after reaching the end value, that it is going to reset the current value to 0 in the cycle case. In the reset checkbox, when the current value is going to reset it to 0, understand the difference between cycle and reset. In cycle, if we enable when the current value is going to reset to 0, when we enable the reset when the current value is going to change it to 0, that we have to understand. So if you enable the cycle checkbox, when the current value is going to reset to 0 means after reaching the end value, whatever the end value we have set 3, we have set 3, right? If you have set 4, after reaching 4, again it should have to start from 1. So in that scenario, it is going to change the current value from 4 to 0. So in reset, when it is going to change the current value to 0 means at the end of every run or at the end of every execution, it is going to reset the current value to 0. That's it. So if you understand that this difference, when the current value is going to reset to 0, you will be able to understand the numbers, like how it will generate the sequence numbers. So here also what you have to do first time in this scenario, this is also homework. Okay, you do not insert any records in the target table. First you create source table with these 4 rows, and here what you have to do, the same start value 1. Okay, so for this scenario you have to set the start value 1. Let me write here. Start value 1, increment by 1, and then end value some big number. So we should not change that number, just leave it as it is. And then we just have to enable the reset checkbox. We have to enable, right? These properties we have to set. First time if we execute, it should have to generate 1 to 4. That you have to see whether we have got 1 to 4 or not. Second time you insert employee number 50 record and execute and see whether you have got the numbers like 1 2 3 4 5 or not. Third time you insert 2 more new records, 60 70, and then third time execute and see. Third time again you have to observe like whether third time run whether you have got the numbers like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 or not. So every run you have to observe like whether it is starting from 1 and whatever the number of records are there, whether it is able to generate those many numbers or not, that you have to observe. Clear? Will you able to do this? Okay, this thing we do not do in real time, but in interview they may ask. So if you want to have such type of requirement, if we have such type of requirement, tell me what properties you will be setting inside the sequence generator. Fine, that's it. So practice this one also. So create source and target table, create mapping, execute and see whether you are able to do this or not. If you have any questions during the practice, you can take the screenshot and send me in WhatsApp. Okay, as soon as I check, I'll reply to you. Okay, there is a question from Viraz. How did you get a 7 number? Example 1 2 3 4, then 1 2 3 4 5, and 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. That's what here I explained, right? Okay, so first time, so what we did here. Okay, so first time here there were 4 records, right? First time there were 4 records. For these 4 records, it has loaded, generated the number like 1 2 3 4, right? 1 2 3 4. And since I have enabled the reset checkbox also, after loading 4 record, the current value is going to reset to 0. And if I execute 5th record for the second time, before I execute second time, let's say I have inserted one new record, right? If I execute this time, so tell me what numbers we will get here. If you enable the reset checkbox, yeah, 1 2 3 4 5, right? Since we have 5 records, we'll get 5. So again, if I insert 2 more new records third time, 60. Third time you have to insert 2 more new records, 60, 600, 70, okay, some 700. So now I have inserted total 7 records. So in this scenario, tell me how we will get the sequence numbers. What, from which number to which number we will get here?
1 to 7.
Exactly, 1 to 7, right? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, like this. So before we execute third time, we have inserted 2 more new records, 60 70. That's the reason we have got the numbers from 1 to 7. Okay, so like that we should have to do here, right? This one also you can practice. Next step, another scenario. We'll move on to another scenario.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
So first time we are executing, we are going for the workflow, we are getting 1 2 3 4. Then we have to
Yes.
come back to the SQL, then SQL, then we have to
Yes.
write one more, insert the one more column,
Not
one
column.
more row, one
Yes.
more row, then we have to
Yes.
again go for the workflow.
Yes, correct.
Okay,
Yes.
for inserting every row, we have to go do the workflow. Okay, then.
Yes. So after inserting the fifth row in the source table, execute commit. Don't forget to execute commit. Okay, so after inserting row, commit, and then go back to this workflow and right click start workflow. So if you execute second time the start workflow, so you will get the numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4. This you have to observe whether you have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or not. Again, yes, if you are getting, yes, the reset is working fine. Again, what you have to do, you have to go back to the SQL developer. You insert 2 more rows. You have to write a query to insert these 2 rows. Commit. Okay, and then execute third time. Right click start workflow. Do not change anything, mapping session workflow. Just execute third time start workflow. Third time if you execute, okay, so since you have total 7 records, this time you will get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Got it? So every run starting the number from 1. So this time you have to observe, okay, third time whether we have got the numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or not. Clear? Any other questions here? Okay, fine. We'll move on to the next scenario. Okay. So here we have some logical scenario. This is also important for interview, but we will not create such type of mapping in real time. But some interviews they may ask this type of logical scenario. First, we'll try to understand what is this scenario. So EMP SCQS4. This is our fourth scenario in our sequence generator transformation. So for this, you have to create one source table and 3 target tables here. EMP SCQS4 is the source. Insert some 8 records like this in your source table. Target table, you have to create 3 target tables. In the last class, I have shown you the same similar, like in router, we created 3 targets, right? Same way here also, you have to create 3 targets, SCQ T41, T42, T43 with the same columns. Now the requirement here is, so while loading the data from source to target, first record we have to send it to the first target table. Second record we have to send it to the second target. Third record we have to load into the third target table. Again, fourth record send it to the first target. Fifth record send it to the second target. Sixth record third target. After loading into the third target, again we have to go back to load into the first target. Seventh record should be loaded into the first target. Eighth record should be loaded into the second target, like this. First record into the first target, second record second target, third record third target. After loading 3 records, one first target, second target, third target, again fourth record, again we should have to start from the loading from the first table. Fourth record first target, fifth record second target, sixth record third target. Since we have loaded records till 3 targets, again seventh record we have to send back to the first target. Like that we have to load 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 like that. First target, second target, third target, again go back to the load into the first target, second target, third target, again go back to the first target, second target, third target, like that. That is the requirement. Understand? So we have one source and 3 target tables. While loading the data from source to 3 targets, first record we have to load into the first target, second record second target, third record third target, then fourth record we should have to load into the first target. That's how we have to load. So for this mapping, for this to implement, after creating the source and 3 targets in your mapping designer, first here you have to import in the source analyzer you have to import one source definition, and how many target definitions you have to import here? For this scenario, how many target definitions we have to import here?
3 target definitions.
3 target definitions, because we have 3 target tables. That's the reason you have to import 3 target definitions in the target designer. You should be under target designer, and there you have to import these 3 target definitions. And then mapping, you have to drag and drop the source definition, and in the mapping you will have 3 target definitions like this. TD1 means target definition 1, target definition 2, target definition 3. 3 target definitions will be there in your mapping. And then so we have to create sequence generator transformation here, because 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 we have to load. right? First target, second target, third target. Again, we have to load into the first target, then second target, then third target. Again, first target, second target, third target. So that means 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 like that. So to get the cyclic numbers generated, so we have to create a sequence generator transformation, and then there we have to set the start value 1, increment by 1, end value 3 we have to set, and then cycle enable. So if you set these properties inside of the sequence generator transformation, how the numbers will be generated? Just now we discussed the same scenario, right? So if you set start value 1, increment by 1, and then end value 3, cycle enable, if you set, how we will get the numbers? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 like this, right? Okay, so from here you have to create one router transformation. In the last class we have seen how to create a router, and then next value, select next value in the sequence generator, drag and drop to the router transformation. Next value you have to drag and drop to the router transformation, and then select all these ports from source qualifier, drag and drop to the router. So this is input group, right? In input group you will have next val and employee number, employee name, salary from the source qualifier. These 4 ports will be there inside the router transformation. After that, so we have 3 target tables. Okay, to load the data in each target table we have to write different conditions. Okay, so you have to go to the groups tab. There you have to create 3 groups because we have 3 target tables. To load the data in each and every target table we have to write 3 different conditions. Here we have the conditions. Okay, so for multiple conditions we have to create the router transformation, and if you have 3 conditions to write, you have to create 3 groups inside the router transformation. So if you have practiced the last class scenario router transformation how to use, and this will be easy to implement the router here. If you don't practice the router, and without practicing the router directly if you come here, then it would be difficult to understand. So first you try to practice the router transformation scenario. Okay, if you have not created, then you come here. So here you have to create a router and go to the groups tab. There you have to create 3 groups, right? So if you have done practically how to create the groups, you will come to know where we have to go to create the groups, and where do we have to write the condition inside the router transformation in each group. That you will come to know if you have done practically. Okay, so in the first group you have to write next val equal to 1. Okay, in the first group you have to create 3 groups, right? So here in the last class I have shown you about this router transformation, right? This is a router transformation. So here you have to go to the groups tab. You have to click on this button 3 times so that 3 groups will be created. So first group name you can give the group name as TD1, second group name you can give the name as TD2, third group name you can give the name as TD3, right? And first group you have tried not NV, you have tried next val. So whatever the column name we have here inside the sequence generator transformation, we have the next val, right? So next val, so if you drag and drop next val to the router, so the column name will be next val equal to 1 we have tried in the first group condition. Second group you have tried next val equal to 2. Third group you have tried next val equal to 3, and we'll have the default you no need to connect to the log, right? So if you want to track any error record, then only we have to use the log. Otherwise, as I told you in today's session at the beginning, so from route default group it is not mandatory to connect to the log. So even though if you don't connect and if you leave default group as it is, it will work fine. We'll just leave the default group. So from TD1 group you connect to the first target definition, TD2 you connect to the second target definition, TD3 you have to connect to the third target definition. With that the mapping is created. Once the mapping is created, we have to create session workflow and start execute. So as soon as we start execution of this mapping, so first a reader from the source it will read the first record 10A100. 10A100 it will pass to the router transformation. For this 10A100, tell me what is the next val we will get here at router transformation. For the first record, which is 10A100, what is the next val we will get at router from the sequence generator? You no need to think this much. Just by seeing you can
One.
easily answer. 1, right? We already discussed many times now. 1 for the first record we will get 1 because start value we have 1 inside the sequence and increment by 1 we have here. So for the first record next value we will get 1. There is nothing to think here. So please unmute and give the answer. Okay. So first for the first record it will generate next value 1. Now router transformation it will pass that next value whatever we have got 1 that it will pass to the below groups TD1, TD2, TD3. In these three groups, which group condition will satisfy? TD1, TD2 or TD3? For the next value 1, which group condition will satisfy? TD1, TD2 or TD3?
TD1 group.
TD1 group will satisfy because next value we have next value for the first record we have got 1 and here in TD1 group we have written next value equal to 1. That is the reason TD1 group will satisfy. Since TD1 group satisfied that condition, the first record it will be loaded into the first target table. It will send to the first target definition and the first record will be inserted inside the first target table. Done. First record loaded. Now the second record. So from the source reader will read the second record 20B200. 20B200 source qualifier it will pass to the router. For 20B200 what is the next value we will get here? What is the next value for the 20B200 for the second record?
2.
2. Next value will be 2. Now that next value it will pass to the below groups TD1, TD2, TD3 groups. In these three groups, which group condition will satisfy this time for the second record?
TD2.
TD2 group condition will satisfy because we have written next value equal to 2 in TD2 group. We have also got the next value 2 here. That's the reason TD2 group condition will satisfy. From TD2 we have connected to the second target definition. That is the reason second record will be loaded into the second target table. Whereas TD1 group, TD3 group will not satisfy the condition. It will not do anything for that record. Only TD2 satisfied the condition. The second record will be loaded into the second target table. Done. Next, third record. So reader from the source it will read the third record 30CCNI. 30CCNI from the source qualifier it will pass to the router. Now for the third record what is the next value we will get here?
Three.
For the third record what is the next value?
3.
3, right? You no need to think this much. Please unmute and give the answer. Okay, so here we are doing the sequence, we are generating the sequence values only, right? Just now we discussed. So for the third record next value will be 3 and it will pass all those values to the below TD1, TD2, TD3 groups. Out of these three groups, which group condition will satisfy for the third record? TD1, TD2 or TD3? TD3, right? So TD3 will satisfy. TD3 we have connected to the third target. So that's the reason third record will be loaded into the third target table. Next, source side will have the reader. Reader will read the fourth record 40D400. 40D400 it will pass to the router. Now for the fourth record, what is the next value we will get here?
1.
V1.
Exactly 1. Why not 4 for the fourth record?
And value is 3, that's why cycle is another.
Exactly. End value is 3 and cycle is enabled, right? Since it has reached the end value 3 and for the fourth record, so it is going to again start the sequence value from 1. So for the fourth record next value we will get 1. Since next value is 1 for the fourth record, TD1 group condition will satisfy. Okay, and the fourth record will be loaded into the first target table. Right, this is what we are expecting, right? Fourth record should be loaded into the first target table. Got it? In the same way, next fifth record. So fifth record next value will be 2. TD2 group condition will satisfy. Fifth record will be loaded into the second target. Same way, sixth record it will pass to the router. Next value will be 3, and TD3 condition will satisfy, and sixth record will be loaded into the third target table. Since it has reached next value 3 and we have enabled the cycle option, so for the seventh record next value will be 1. Okay, so one it will pass to the router, and it will pass those values to the below groups, and for the 7th record next value will be 1. Okay, and first group condition will satisfy and it will be loaded into the first target. Same way 8th record next value will be 2 and it will be loaded into the second target. That's it. So we have after successful of the execution, we will get the output in these 3 target tables as expected. So you have to verify whether the first record loaded into the first target, second record loaded into the second target, third record third target, again fourth record loaded into the first target table or not. Those things you have to verify after successful of the execution. Similar way, we have another scenario here, right? So this time here two records we have to load, first and second record load into the first target table. Here also for this 5th scenario, 1 source and 3 target tables. Okay, again you have to create 1 source and 3 target tables. This time two records we have to load in each target. First and second record should be loaded into the first target. Third and fourth should be loaded to the second target. 5th, 6th into the third target. Again 7, 8 into the first target. So for this one, the same mapping, but here inside the sequence generator transformation, you have to set the start value and increment by 1, end value we have to 6 here, and then we have to enable the cycle. So these properties you have to set inside the sequence generator transformation, and then same router you have to create, same 3 groups you have to create. In the first group you have to write next value equal to 1 or next value equal to 2. Second group condition you have to write next value equal to 3 or next value equal to 4. Third group next value equal to 5 or next value equal to 6. So like that if you write, then we will get the expected output like this. Two records will be loaded into each target. So if you are able to do this, then this will be easy to implement, because the same transformations, right? So only the end value instead of 3 here we will get 6, and then router here we have just written a next value equal to 1, whereas here we have to use our next value equal to 2, because 1 2 we have to load into the first target. That is the reason in the first target group condition next value equal to 1 or next value equal to 2 we have to write. If we get next value 1 2, we should have to load that record into the first target. Next 3 4, so third record and fourth record we have to load into the second target. That's the reason we have to use OR operator here. Next for third group next value equal to 5 or next value equal to 6. So like that we have to load these 2 records into the third target table. So these are the logical scenarios which will be important for interview, but we will not create such type of scenarios in real time. Only for interview point of view we should have to remember this scenario. Okay, so this is also homework. So today's class I have practically shown you only first scenario in sequence generator. The second scenario cyclic numbers, next starting the numbers from 1 third, this is second, third, and the fourth one is 1 source and 3 targets, and the fifth one is 1 source and again 3 targets. So these are all homework. Only first one I have shown you, rest of 4 I am giving the homework. So I have explained how to do step by step. Okay, please follow the recording and then try to practice the same. If you have any doubt during the practice, you can take the screenshot and send me in WhatsApp. Got it? Okay, so these 4 scenarios practically I have not shown you here. So let us see how many of you are able to complete these 4 scenarios, because I know few of you by following the recording you are practicing, right? Okay, so while practicing I told you should not watch the recording, you have to close the recording. So if I show everything practically, then whatever I have created, same thing you will be able to create. You are not going to think, right? So you should have to think and you should have to implement by your own. So now you have got the time to think and implement by your own these 4 scenarios. Okay, so please practice these 5 scenarios today. That's all for the day. We'll continue tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.